Life is a miracle. Every new day, a wonder. Each horizon, an invitation and a challenge. It's also a reminder that time is precious and our time is limited. You can waste it by living someone else's life, by someone else's rules, or you can have the courage to live your life with bold conviction, to follow your heart and make your own path. At some point, many of us realize we are not living a life that we want, a life we choose, rich with adventure and discovery, a life of purpose. We know this because we were part of the program, plugged into a system of control and restriction, directing what we did with our time and our talent, dictating where we lived, how we lived, and what we could accomplish. But like you, we had a choice, and we dared to make it. We realized we could continue as a part of that program, or we could unplug, break away, and begin living intentionally on our terms, in our time. Life is a miracle and a gift. Those who know this and accept the challenge to be truly free have epic stories to tell. We're RV Nomads, and we want to share our journey with you. So we decided to make a movie.
Rolling?
That's good.
Off you're going.
Right past the camera.
Now for the slider shot, we're gonna have to swap lenses again.
You can't see me in the shot, right?
Action.
I would say we were absolutely pursuing what we thought the American dream was. Buy a house, go to school, get a degree. I was in school at the time for web and graphic design. We were at a crossroads. Our business that we had been running and started for 9 years that we're very passionate about was beginning to fail because our hearts weren't in it anymore.
I felt like I was in control, like I felt like I knew what was going on. Simultaneously, I was extremely upset about my life. I felt entirely unfulfilled. I felt extremely, like, just above depressed.
Morning. How are you?
Good. How was your hike?
Awesome. We were renting a cute little house on a river in Austin, and the rental payment on that was such that our business couldn't fail. Looking back on it now, it's just crazy. We could not fill up that house unless we just worked like maniacs. And for what? I was going through the motions of what I thought one should do. I knew I wanted to do music and be a singer, but that wasn't really something that people do.
Is it hard to sleep? The hours ticking by, stuck in your daydream, thinking what it'd be like to do.
As I had done a few other times in my life, I was going through an immense amount of self-reflection and introspective thinking and soul-searching and all that.
And we had a friend who had an RV, but we didn't get, at least I didn't get a good taste in my mouth about it because it was kind of a situation, that one movie where it's the Christmas movie and the guy comes out, shitter's full or whatever. It was like that. It was a major fixer-upper. They weren't planning on traveling in it, so I had walked in it and I don't know, it didn't click. But then later when I saw the traveling ad, I was like, what if there are nice RVs? Like, what if there are RVs we could live in? Like, what would that look like?
Yes, I think nomadism is a natural part of humanity. Because I believe this life is meant to be used kind of as a tool for growth and expansion on a personal level. And I think that traveling, adventuring, seeing more gives you more of those opportunities. to grow and expand yourself. If you took away all the constructs of our current society and put us all in a field and said, what do you want to do? I think the first thing would be to go and adventure and seek and enjoy and experience what's over the next hill.
Our means of earning income and style of living are unique to us, but our reasons for becoming RV nomads are quite common among the full-time RV movement. Take Marc and Julie Bennett, for example. Their home is a Class A diesel country coach. They document and share their journey with thousands of others through their YouTube channel, RV Love.
We met in the summer of 2010, and we were just having a great time dating and getting to know each other, and it was about a year later that we were planning our wedding, and we were coming back from a trip to the sand dunes of Colorado to stopped at a pizza restaurant and met a couple that were full-time RVers at the table next to us, and that was the first time we'd ever heard about full-time RV living. It never really occurred to us before, and all the way home we started chatting about wouldn't that be cool to do one day. And
yeah, it was great because we were already working from home, so we had, well, she had been laid off and I had transitioned to this new job that I was working from home, and it was loving it. I was being great being there, but then I started realizing, well, now that I'm not going to an office anymore, no one really knows where I'm at. And so we could start redefining what it is to be home.
that's what it was for us. It's like, well, if we want to do this, aren't these things really expensive? Don't they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars? We can't afford that. So that's the immediate thought that came to mind. And I think that's what happens for a lot of people is we immediately shut down our ideas and our dreams because it doesn't seem realistic or possible. It's always out there, or it's okay for this person or that person, but it's not okay for me to do that. But I like to turn that on its head and look at it in terms of, well, how can I make it possible? What do I need to do? And so I think I jumped onto Craigslist and just typed in Class A motorhome, and we found one that was, I don't know, about $70,000 or $80,000, and that didn't seem so out there. When you think about it in terms of if we were to sell our home and do that.
Now it's real. Now it's an yes answer. This is doable.
This is not out of the realm. And so then we started researching more, and then the next question became about, well, how are we going to work from the road? What about connectivity? What about internet? Because if we can't do that, there's pointless going RV shopping if you can't work from the road. And so that was our first big question. Second big question, one, is it even feasible financially? And two, can we stay connected? And when we got the answer to that, that was it.
Game on.
We just went for it. We moved pretty quick with that as well.
Marc and Julie manage and teach the most popular course for RVers available online today. They also authored a book titled Living the RV Life. These resources are being embraced by a growing number of nomads across a wide socioeconomic spectrum, seekers hungry to learn how to live the lifestyle. It's a number growing at a record-shattering pace. In fact, the RV industry is one of the fastest growing and most productive niche industries in the U.S. economy. According to a 2015 analysis, the RV industry has an economic impact of $50 billion. The RV industry includes more than 22,000 businesses, provides nearly 300,000 jobs, and paid wages of $15.8 billion in 2015. RV shipments are at record highs, surpassing 500,000 units for the first time in 2017. And in August of 2018, were projected to reach 540,000 by the end of the year. More RVs are now owned by people ages 35 to 54 than by any other group, according to a University of Michigan study. And the RVIA estimates there are now more than 1 million people living in RVs. This is a movement, a substantial and serious subculture, one that continues to grow with no signs of slowing down.
In the 70s you had this movement of freedom and chasing, doing your own thing and getting out and experiencing versus trying to run a hamster wheel, every day of your life. And I think that's going to continue. I think people are becoming more and more passionate about doing what makes them happy.
And people are being able to do it because of the technological changes. Again, they're able to do that. So the movement it has the same spirit and passion behind it. People are in the same mindset that people were in previous decades, but it's growing at a much faster rate now because it's more possible than it was back then.
So Escapees has grown from 100 members in that first year to now 65,000 members, which is the largest we've ever been, and it's really, the industry is just booming so much, and the mindset and those that are trying to break the status quo coming into the lifestyle really have just fostered the growth in the community. And
an interesting thing is to see the Escapers group that we started is we're almost to 10,000 individuals in that group as well, and that has accounted for so much of the growth in Escapees overall. It's been a critical piece of our future because it's inspired the new resources, it's brought that community in from that demographic, and of course we're seeing that continue to grow, and I think it will continue to grow and be a big piece of what we do moving forward.
We met in the United States Coast Guard while we were stationed in Boston, Massachusetts, on board a Coast Guard cutter stationed in the north end of Boston.
Dan and Lisa have fully embraced the lifestyle. Moving from life on the water in the Coast Guard to living on land in a traditional sticks and bricks home just didn't provide the liberty they longed for. RV life has set them free.
I retired after 30 years. Lisa was in for about 9 years. Lisa was a navigator, a big ship navigator by trade. Back before global positioning systems, she was a cellular navigator. I was in maritime law enforcement. Before 9/11, a lot of it was counter-narcotics, illegal alien interdiction. After 9/11, it became searching for weapons of mass destruction and things like that. We had traveled a lot by motorcycle, even when we were in the Coast Guard. The last 10 years, we had traveled a lot by Harley-Davidson. Once I retired from the Coast Guard, we started to travel even more. We would travel 3 weeks out of every month by motorcycle.
One night, we were having dinner outside of our hotel, and we saw this unique setup. It was a toy hauler, and we saw them wheeling the bikes up into it. And I looked at Dan and I go, huh. And so we didn't think too much of it. And then that's where it was born. We went home, and one thing led to another. We talked about it, and and our first RV was a toy hauler.
So we had already transitioned into a nomad life even before we'd retired.
We just decided to go.
Coming from a military background, Sean and Julie Chicory have a similar story. And like the Browns, being able to pick up and move where they wanted, when they wanted, was a big motivator.
So our home before RVing was a 2,400 square foot, 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house. We had a finished basement, we had a hot tub outside, we had a deck, we had a nice yard. It was in a typical American subdivision.
And it was perfect for that time in our lives because we had 3 sons, and so a typical American family, everyone has their own bedroom, you want to have enough bathroom space, but it was as the boys started to move out that house started to feel very big. And we started finding that we had rooms that we weren't even using. We had a formal dining room, a living room. The formal living room is a place that you just walk through as you get to the rest of the house. So it really just felt like a very big space.
We finally got orders to move from Washington, D.C. down to Tampa, Florida, and we knew that was going to be my last job in the military before I retired or transitioned out. And we disagreed on a house, on where to live down in Tampa. So I wanted to live a little further out, and Julie wanted to live a little closer, but neither one of us liked the other one's choices. And we found that the RV park on the base was right on the water, right on the beach, and it would be a 5-minute commute instead of the 2-hour commutes we were having in Washington, D.C. So we decided to try it out, knowing that that could possibly be what we did after I retired from the military.
But when we saw that campground, we decided, I think we can do it now. And we knew that like one of the country's largest RV dealerships was right down the road. So we went there. We were so excited about this RV and being able to live right on the beach and being able to travel whenever we wanted that we just said, where do we sign?
Remaining stationary in Florida or traveling as they please, that's the life Sean and Julie love. a life of freedom and flexibility that lets them take their work on the road. Digital nomadism is an enabling everyday reality thanks to our increasingly connected world and the appeal of working remotely. In 1973, a NASA engineer coined the term telecommuting to describe the ability to work remotely, away from a traditional office. Companies like AT&T, IBM, American Express, and many others have since made extraordinary efforts to encourage remote employment. Some experts suggest nearly half of the U.S. workforce now spends at least some time working remotely. Add to this the ever-increasing availability of high-speed wireless internet, and you can see why digital nomadism is much more viable and far more mainstream. Nomads take telecommuting to a whole new level, whenever and wherever they choose. This has dramatically changed the demographics of RV owners. RVing can now be a way of life, all in, full-time living and working. Content creators, business consultants, IT professionals, software developers, web architects, marketers, and a plethora of other niche service providers. They can all comfortably and confidently make their home and make their living on the road. This new reality has generated a profound increase in the popularity of the RV lifestyle and what some see as a quiet revolution. Bryce and Camille are perfect examples of this phenomenon in action.
Some of the things we do to help people become digital nomads is we talk a lot about our process of leaving corporate America and traditional employment and our process of finding jobs, what we've done, how we've done it, et cetera.
I think we kind of had that moment where, after a tough day at work, I came home and we had kind of been playing around with that idea, and I was just ready, and I threw my hat in with my intentions and, let's do this. And I'm the conservative one that takes a long time to make decisions. And, she was just totally delighted to hear that and just ran with that. And
we just came, we both came home from work and kind of looked at each other and said, there's just got to be more than this. And we'd both had various types of health issues during that time as well. So, housing, health, and just feeling like we were kind of on a treadmill and not exactly really embracing life and really kind of seizing all that there was, all the opportunities. We just said, we got to make a change. And then that led into, the RV living idea.
We have a couple of objectives. First, we want to help you shift from being a blogger into a business owner.
So some of the ways that we use online tools for training, and we'll get into different platforms like Skype or Zoom or Google Hangouts or Facebook Live, like whatever works. And that could be in the form of doing webinars that are live, and that just teaches people how to blog as a business, etc. But that's all done through live webinar.
In a moment, I'll tell you how I transitioned from working in an office in corporate America to living in an RV full-time.
Remote Work School is all pre-recorded webinar. So I'm using tools like ScreenFlow, and I'm using tools like Keynote and audio, and I'm putting that all together in something that's on demand. Someone can take it at any point and whatever suits their schedule. So that's another way to get at using the online tools for training so that you don't always have to go to a location. But I do location-based training as well.
What's behind this epic movement, this phenomenon? Why have more than 1 million Americans from all walks of life made the conscious choice to break away and head out in a home on wheels? This goes far beyond the realm of the weekend warrior and the vacationer, for whom it's really about recreation. For RV Nomads, the reason has more to do with the recreation, recreating their daily lives, their hopes and dreams, their very existence, rethinking, reimagining, removing themselves from societal programming, escaping from, yes, but also to a life of intention and purpose, a life where control of the path forward to their American dream is in their hands. They may have felt trapped or unfulfilled or just plain unhappy in their former lives. But many nomads have also felt the tremors, early warning signs of a seismic shift, an upheaval in the landscape of American culture. They were aware of the dis-ease of growing anger and antagonism dividing the country, hostility and aggression that sow the seeds of cultural chaos. They see others mired in the matrix, caught in the grind of career, commute, consume, conform. The pressure to conform to the constraints of groupthink, mob mentality, political correctness, droning away in the hive of collectivism. They don't want to be those others. Many nomads recognize and reject the programmed illusion of freedom, a facade built to contain and comfort people that one day, when they've been squeezed out of the grinder, then they'll be able to get away, to enjoy whatever time they have left. What happens when the facade collapses? When the illusion is shattered? When the program crashes as the virus spreads? It's a dark vision, and it may never happen. And if it doesn't, the nomadic life is still purposeful, authentic, and fulfilling. But what if? What if the poison of depression, anxiety, and stress fully infects the system? RV Nomads know there is another way. A way out. A way apart. A better direction. A life. A real life. On the road.
I joined the Army in May of 2001 with an airborne infantry contract. I went to Georgia for basic training throughout the summer, and I was in airborne school when 9/11 happened. So it was about 3 years overseas altogether, just under 9 years in the Army. And after the third deployment, they decided that I shouldn't go back over and medically discharged me for PTSD. And I met Laura shortly after I got out.
It's been really difficult. There's a lot of things he still can't talk about. There's a lot of things that we wish that we could talk about on a regular basis, or things that he reacts to that I don't really fully understand in the moment. And we have to kind of come full circle and talk about it later and figure out what happened.
Being medically retired for PTSD, there was a stigma with that I had to overcome, because
For John Hebert, the war continued. Not only was he battling the mental anguish following his time overseas, he was also trying desperately to deal with the loss of his fellow warriors and with the struggle of trying to fit back into society.
First time I cried in like 2 years. I was on camera.
More time with Laura would help, but that too was proving difficult.
So the winter of 2015, both of us were really burned out at our careers, our jobs. John was still a full-time student. He was going in for law enforcement. There were things that were changing in our society that we couldn't control, and we couldn't make better being in Kansas City when St. Louis was happening, and seeing how that was all playing out and people were treating the police, and John is about to enter his career as being a first-time law enforcement. I was working overnights at a veterinary hospital, and we knew that our schedules would be clashing and they'd sort of be opposite for a long time, just because he would be new on the force and probably wouldn't get the best positions just because he's starting out. So there was a lot of tension and stress in figuring out when we would see each other, how we take care of the dogs, and how we basically maintain a normal life in society.
The solutions modern society offered weren't solutions at all.
The VA shrinks I saw, it was, here's drugs, 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 and we're just going to medicate you into a zombie so that you can slog through a week without being angry or sad or happy or anything. It'll just flatline you to a worker bee and just, get back out there in the system and keep doing your thing, and, don't think too hard about how bad your life sucks, and keep paying your taxes. Come back and see us in a month for a refill.
But in RV life, John found solace, refuge, peace, and purpose.
So since we've moved into the RV, it's given me, a new perspective on life and things that matter. I had a lesson with that, being in the military, a perspective of things that actually matter. When you're dealing with things that are constantly life and death scenarios, all of a sudden little things don't matter that much.
I guess to back up one step, in society, everybody has a different job. Everybody's got a different schedule. There's not a typical bond that brings everybody together and just forces them into a situation to figure it out. Versus when you live in an RV full time and you're traveling and you're meeting others, they're all going through the same situations that you are typically. Things on the rig break and how do I fix it? And where are we going next, and what are the weather concerns, and what are the travel concerns? And it makes a new camaraderie between RVers that is missing in traditional society. Before in John's military service, he had camaraderie with everyone that he was around, his friends, all of his coworkers, and day-to-day things that he was getting done.
I'm constantly told, I expect you to get really angry over this. I'm not angry at all. Well, because combat raised my bar. Well, RV life has done something similar to that, where it's like, well, yes, I could get bent out of shape about something, but I've got more important stuff to worry about, like we've got to plan our trip and where we're going to be staying and what we're going to do. Or we have really important stuff to do, like go hike, go take the dogs for a walk. We're going to go see the Grand Canyon. We're going to do something fun that actually matters in life. And all of a sudden, I found myself deleting the news apps off my phone and scrolling past news stories on Facebook and not caring about that stuff that had me so wound up and so anxious all the time of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the country. And RVing is it's a huge antidote for stressors in my life that did not matter.
Yep. If you can play, you're closed.
All right.
RV life is working for the Hebirds, just as it's working for hundreds of thousands of people, more every day. And not just couples.
The RV Show USA.
Wow. Another powerful and unique story behind the why people loved RV. All right, coming up next, folks, you're going to meet some people who have discovered their way to happiness and adventure by building an inseparable bond and closeness as full-time RVers with their daughter. It's truly something special. Hang on, everybody. I'm Alan Warren. This is the RV Show USA, the country's #1 radio show about the RV lifestyle.
We originally found out about the RV lifestyle because we had just had our first child, and I was off on maternity leave with her. And I probably would have done anything to stay home with her more and not go back working full time. So while that was going on, Nathan actually found this lifestyle from a Vimeo type documentary somebody had done. And it was this family, and they had a little boy, and they were raising him in an Airstream, teaching him on the road, showing him the country. And he approached me and thought, would you ever do anything like this? And luckily, both of us were on board, and I was like, absolutely, that sounds amazing. And that's kind of when we made the decision.
So our current RV is an Airstream 31 Classic. It's a 2008, and we love it. It's been a good fit. We wanted, one thing Marissa learned about RVs that she loved over time, it took us years to get there, but we love the light. We want light in an RV. And Airstream does a great job of bringing in a lot of light.
Light and nature, that's what makes me happy. It makes a small space feel bigger.
Yeah.
Can we give the baby some food?
I love that our mornings now are on our time, so we can wake up, we can enjoy our morning together as a family. So sometimes Nathan and I will even work out together. We can do that as a team. And we can take turns with Hensley too as well, where he can do his workout and I can do mine, or we'll come together and do them. And then I love that we can come together and just not rush off in the morning. You know, usually it's you got to go to work and I got to go to work, and we need to drop her off at school or daycare, and so we don't get to enjoy our time together. So that was kind of aha moment of when we started this lifestyle is when I got to wake up and cook breakfast. You know, if Hensley says she wants pancakes for the morning breakfast, I have time to do that. I can't say, well, we don't have time for that. Here, eat this bar and we're running off to work. You know, I can say, okay, you want pancakes today? Let's make pancakes together. Let me teach you how to make it. Let's measure things. Let's learn as we do it. You know, she's really involved with everything we do, and we get to sit down and have breakfast as a family and have that time together. And that was that special moment for me when I felt like we had really made it, when I realized that we were sitting there eating breakfast and enjoying it, and it wasn't that rushed morning.
Yeah.
Where does Hensley sleep?
I mean, for the most part, just nothing but positive out of the experience. One of our bigger concerns was the social aspect. Well, she's an only child, she's in an RV, she's with us a lot. How is she going to interact with other kids or learn to have those interactions?
I think every parent has concerns, even if they're in a house. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the best thing for my child? You know, is public school, private school, homeschooling, like all that. I mean, an RV does kind of magnify that sometimes because it's out of the norm. I think anything that's out of the norm, you get questioned more.
But there's a lot of ways for her to have interactions with other kids on the road if you look for those. Now, our first year, we didn't look for those. We just thought, well, we'll run into kids her age all the time, and we just didn't. But after that, we started to be proactive and find those families. So if you want to, you can have plenty of socialization for yourselves or your kids if you want to.
She's absolutely social. She's more social than us. And I attribute that to this lifestyle because she's had to be. If she wasn't, she would never get to play. So she's almost like we have to kind of teach her boundaries sometimes because she doesn't know a stranger, which I love that about her. Like she just sees kids and she starts running up and playing with them and talking to them, and it forces us out of our shell because we're like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna go talk to them as well. And we would never continue this lifestyle if we didn't think it was the best thing for our family. But she is so positive about life and she's so smart. Just it blows us away how much she's learned being on the road because everything is so hands-on because she's lived it. It's not just we've pointed to something in a book. I mean, she's got to go out and really explore and live.
We're wrapping up shooting here today.
And it's helped us grow. We've really grown as people, and she's been kind of our inspiration to that, just watching her get so advanced from this lifestyle.
Play hard, sleep hard.
Nathan and Marissa figured out how to balance work and play with a little one in a small space. But what about bigger families and larger RVs?
It was kind of the answer of, okay, we'll have the house with us, we'll have kids with us, and we'll just travel and work on the road. So that's kind of how it happened.
All right, you two.
When we had kids, our travels had kind of come to a halt because we used to go like once every 2 to 3 months. And then when we had the kids, it had kind of like once a year was kind of what it became. And it was frustrating. I don't think either one of us realized that we were missing that part of the adventure.
Our family never took vacations, like literally. I didn't never know what a vacation was until Sandra came into my life. And living that and living what I live now and having the kids, you know, going to all these different states. I never even left Florida for the longest time. I mean, she was like blown away how I hadn't seen, you know, any of the country, I haven't traveled anywhere or anything like that.
After we came into Fifth Wheel from such a big home was so much bonding happens. And although we have a larger RV, we have a Fifth Wheel, we still bond a lot. Like we hang out here on the couch a lot. We watch, you know, there's one common area for all of us to be in.
And I think it's genius for parents to at least try it. It may not be your cup of tea, you know, for a lot of factors. You know, maybe you don't know how to drive a trailer, or maybe you're not handy, or, you know, those types of things. But I think it was the best thing for our family, really, because, I mean, I know we've grown closer, the kids have grown closer. And that's what you really want in a family, right?
I'd definitely say that we were not content with the typical American dream.
Mm-hmm. Life before we got into the RV was a regular 9-to-5 grind of always trying to find time for family. Power's coming on. Listen for anything unusual? outside of work, outside of taking the kids to soccer practice or whatever. It was always a matter of living up to everybody else's expectations and what we thought people expected of us. Where we decided, we married each other and had this family for each other.
We even had a house in Georgia to begin with, right? And even when it was just us, we just kept filling it with stuff. And we would actually get so much stuff in one room, we would move from like the master bedroom to like another room until we could get all that stuff cleared away, and then we'd move to another room. Like we just used it for storing junk and disorganized stuff, and we were constantly trying to keep up with it, and we were failing.
Yeah, we couldn't even manage the space, even just being a husband and wife without a kid. It was all set of expectations. We're supposed to have X, we're supposed to have Y, we have the house, but what are we going to do with all that? So going into the RV life, we realized that we'd be able to spend more time with each other rather than clipping the grass or dealing with the bushes or cleaning out the gutters. And instead, it was just going to be if we want to, take the RV and go somewhere else. So it was a matter of every week can be a new place if we need it to be when we're travel trailer life. It's a total transition of what it means to be a family for us.
Thank you.
Butter it up.
Being in an RV as a family definitely lets you see who you really are and what you're made of, and not just you, but your entire family. It's kind of a very real and raw experience, which for us is perfect because that's kind of our parenting style even before we got in the RV.
Yeah, I feel it's helped me exercise more of my independence. It's a matter of Jessica and I, we're always together. We always think a little bit differently, and living in a travel trailer, RVing, it really lets us express to ourselves how we do things differently, how we don't listen, we respect advice, we'll take advice, but in the end we'll make our own decisions as to what's right for us. And definitely doing the RV living, exploring, adventuring is good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Full-time RVers are too often portrayed as misfits or malcontents who just want to skip out on living as contributing members of society. We RV Nomads know that's not true. For us, nomadism is a productive, purposeful life. RV Nomads embrace an essential aspect of human nature. We're empowered by it. The yearning to move, to seek, to travel. The urge to become. As the famous John Powell quote goes, "A person can only grow as much as his horizon allows." For full-time RVers, the horizon is a constant allure. For nomad Kelly Beasley, it's also allowed her to move on.
Before RV life, I don't think I was fulfilled because I had a lot of struggles with depression on and off. I had a lot of struggles with depression on and off, and I tell people all the time, ever since I've hit the road, I have not had a day of being depressed. I've had sad days, but not depression. I have a theory of why being a full-time RVer keeps me from being depressed. And personally, just for me, I think maybe like my ancestors or whatever traveled. They had a need to travel. They traveled to hunt. They traveled to get their food. They traveled to find new homes. And just, I know I'm not doing it to that extreme, but I'm doing it to much more of a level than I had to when I lived in one place and had the same routine every day going to the same spot. So I think that it just kind of fulfills something in my DNA, and I'm much happier for it. So before I took off on the road, I lived in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, very small house. But I became single, I looked around, and I just thought, this is a lot bigger than I need. So I realized that I could do this lifestyle, and it took me 6 months to get it done, and I took off. Being full-time, it has opened up opportunities that I never would have had before. First of all, look where I'm parked. Like, people don't get this every day. They pay a lot of money on a vacation to get here. I don't have to, it just costs me gas money. Secondly, opportunities. I never would have met Marshall had I not been on the road, and I wouldn't have Camp Addict. I mean, that's been one of the biggest blessings of my life. And I end up just being in places where I find amazing things. Like I was up in Frisco, and guess what? There's something called the Brass Bed Races up in Central City. So I got to go to that, and that was a lot of fun. It was hilarious. So yeah, things just tend to come together, and I feel like opportunities open up like crazy. It's perfect. This life is perfect for me.
Solo travelers, couples, families, they're all part of the RV movement. Yet not all who consider themselves RV nomads spend every day of every year on the road. Some, like Gary and Stacy Quimby, still maintain a traditional home, but their meaning of life is found with their discovery, and the Quimbys find themselves drawn to the road 8 to 10 months annually.
Being out where you're closer to nature, you can touch the mountains, you can
choose your neighbors.
You can walk through the creek right there outside your front door. It's just getting closer to nature.
Oh, you gonna get it? Oh, you got it, Spirit. Oh, come on. Our first big trip out, after building the house, we thought we were only going to be out for 6 weeks. However, we decided to go to an escapers convergence. It was our first convergence. Prior to then, whenever we were in campgrounds or RV parks, we just stuck to ourselves. We were the kids on the road. There was no one our age that we were connecting with at all on the road until our first convergence, and that changed our lives. And at that convergence, everyone's saying, oh, you need to stay out till quartzite in January. And I'm like, I need to be home by Thanksgiving. I have Thanksgiving dinner and I have Christmas. And they're like, just stay out.
So we did. And then from there, it's like, well, hey guys, quartzite's not too far off. Let's just go to quartzite too. And we just developed this tight-knit group of people that we were kind of traveling with a little bit for this short amount of time. And friendship developed, trust developed, community developed. We actually have a great community while traveling on the road. So it's taken us further and further away from our house, but we still love having that house and that property. It's a home base for us. You know, we use that as a stopping point to reprovision, to do repairs, to do whatever kind of work we need. So it gives us that place to come together and start fresh again, start new again.
Where to go, what to do, when to do it. RV life gives us the freedom to choose. And every RV nomad can choose a different style of travel, the one that's right for them. Each is unique, yet the nomadic community shares so much in common. Ours is true diversity, without the pressure or the expectation to conform, to fit a mold.
We wanted to live a minimal and deliberate life. We wanted to be free, be debt-free, be just totally unburdened by just this box that we thought we had to live within.
So the year before we really considered RV life, we were already living a minimal lifestyle in like a shotgun cabin that was lofted with just a living space, a kitchen, and then a loft bedroom upstairs. Mm-hmm. And you know, I was working for myself at that time being a musician, and Olivia was working at the restaurant, so we were living a pretty free life, I'd have to say, but we still had a lot of obligations to the man. And even though we were working for ourselves, I wouldn't say we were putting money in savings really, and kind of just living paycheck to paycheck.
So we just started researching a little bit more, and that's when we started transitioning into researching through YouTube and finding these people that inspired us and had so much information and had been doing it for years, and it started to seem more like a reality that we could achieve.
To me, what made it tangible was our neighbors and our friends took a trip from Alabama all the way up to Glacier National Park, and they stopped by a few other national parks. They were gone for like a month, and I just thought, that is amazing. I didn't even know that was possible. I felt so, even though there was some freedom in my life, I never felt freedom to get out and explore. And seeing them be able to do that just gave me so much hope that if Olivia and I created a plan, then, I mean, that is definitely something we could reach.
But a month felt like such a short period of time. They went to so many national parks, and they were moving nonstop the whole way, and it was obviously very stressful to move that fast and go around the whole country almost. So we really wanted to be able to spend a longer amount of time, and with work and bills, there was no way we could take that long of a vacation and still make ends meet.
And it was like exploring the unknown. For me, that was just one of the things that really lit the fires. Like, we had no clue what was beyond. Even though we both have done a decent amount of traveling, we've never taken a leap of faith and like dove into something so hardcore.
The leap of faith Kyle and Olivia took is now being taken by many hundreds of thousands of nomads across the land.
We had a house, we had multiple cars, we actually had 2 horses and a bit of a farm. I mean, we had everything that we thought we wanted, but... You done?
I'm done.
All right.
Tom and Caitlin Morton, uprooted from good-paying careers, became debt-free and enjoy a full-time RV journey of their own.
I got some work to do on the propane system. My company was going through some difficult times. We'd been through a number of rounds of layoffs, and the stress was insane. The 9-to-5 job, which was actually a lot more than 9 to 5 because we were salaried workers, and we just weren't really fulfilled anymore at what we were doing.
You start to feel, somewhat depressed, and both Tom and I experienced some sort of depression during that time, even though we were living our American dream, even though we had a beautiful house, we had the cars that we wanted. We felt suppressed, and we felt trapped, and society teaches you that this is just the way it is. This is it. Mocha, you hungry? We had so many coworkers say that I thought I was going to do this job for 2 years and move on, but that was 20 years ago, and you just kind of get trapped into this, okay, this is just what it is, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what's expected of me. Ever since we made the decision to sell our house and live in an RV, and in our research leading up to the time that we departed, and throughout these 3 years of RV life, we have seen a tremendous change in this full-time RVing movement. When we first had the idea, we saw a handful of people out there also doing what we wanted to do. And now you really do see this movement taking place. And it doesn't matter, what your background is in. If you have a family or you don't, or you're a single person, or you have 5 kids, we've seen all family types and all rig types that, we see it happening, and everybody's finding their way to make it work, and they're all doing it in some unique way.
We know this movement is made up of solo RVers, couples, and families with small children. But what about infants? Can young parents with a baby make life on the road work? According to Jesse and Jenny Ingram, it's not only possible, it's preferable.
I absolutely love that we live in an RV. We have experienced so many new things as a family that just wouldn't have happened otherwise.
With the Air Force, like many military, personnel, I was deployed overseas, and it was interesting because I was at a small air base over in the Mideast, and it wasn't horrible. It was air bases are pretty safe. You're not getting shot at, but still I felt like I was in a prison because we're in a small air base. And for safety, we had guards and security within the base, but we weren't allowed outside of our small air base. We had some access to internet, so I could see people back home enjoying their lives, and friends were out surfing and doing fun activities. That was a unique experience because it made me really value our freedom we have here in the States, the freedom to do what we want to do and choose our own choices.
Everything in an RV needs to have a multi-purpose. It needs to have 2 purposes if it's going to be in there. And so Tucker's living area is also Jesse's desk work area, and it's also our living room. And so I'm starting to feel that restraint of space. Jesse and I think, had traveled for most of our lives with families, and so I think that instilled a bit of the adventurous spirit into us. Jesse's done a lot more traveling than I have, but I'll give my parents credit. They made sure with my brother and I, every summer vacation or spring break, we were somewhere. Going to North Carolina, or going to Washington State, or Indiana. We were just constantly on the move.
Denny's dad, well, her family rented a RV, so one of her first RV experiences was traveling the Oregon coast.
Yeah. At one point during our trip, had illegally parked. Got a ticket, which he promptly threw away because it wasn't his RV. A few months later, the rental company calls my dad because the guy had actually been in and out of court fighting this ticket that my dad just decided not to pay. So that was my first RV experience.
Jesse, Jenny, and little Tucker enjoy their adventures in the wild, but living comfortably for any length of time way off the beaten path means living off the grid. Thanks to better technology and lower pricing, off-grid living is now far more practical and affordable, a big reason the number of RV nomads is surging. For RVers increasingly willing to unplug from the pedestal and take the plunge, boondocking is booming.
Boondocking is more like being out basically in the wilderness.
And you find maybe public land or national forest land or state land, and you just park out there and you're out away from everything.
The ability to just stop someplace and be able to put down roots
allows you to get more connected with nature, get away from the digital concrete jungle that everyone's so connected to.
And you find places that you wouldn't typically seek out, say on a map or something like that. You find
a little bit of breathing room, being able to look out our window and walk outside and just be in nature.
Boondocking is freedom.
A new place that has its own special characteristics, and there you just get to be.
The more you want to be in nature, the easier it is to do that without having electric and water and all the hookups.
We have 990 watts of solar panels on the roof. There's 6 panels, 165 watts each.
We have 10 200-watt panels on the roof, so that gives us 2,000 watts of solar on the roof.
We have 600 amp hours of Battle-Born lithium batteries that we recently put in.
And a Battle-Born battery pack consisting of 10 of their 24-volt batteries.
Our new RV, we went big with this, and we wanted to have a system that could allow us to have our RV fully functional and as if it's plugged into power when we're out in the middle of nowhere.
More RVers, as you might expect, means the cost of campground space is rising. Higher demand, higher price. That also means the energy industry is rapidly innovating, not just to build better, easier to use products, but also to reduce their price tag. Take lithium batteries, for example. They are now among the hottest products in the RV space. Lithium batteries last longer, weigh less, are more efficient, and have minimal environmental impact. We caught up with the guys who run Battle-Born Batteries, one of the largest makers of lithium vehicle batteries in the country, to get their take on off-grid power.
Boondocking is when you get to go out and see places that other people in a campground don't get to see. But you get out there and you're not attached to the grid. And that means that you're in the boonies. That's where that word comes from. You know, they're out there and they're spending time in nature and enjoying it, getting the full experience.
Some things just aren't that close. You know, you've got to go a long way to get to the right views, to get to the right experiences.
In my experience, it used to be called dry camping. That means that you're camping without any services, no electricity, no water. And so if you're boondocking, you have to have those things available to you. Whether you have a generator or you have a battery bank that's big enough to support you, you have a source to recharge that, whether it's the generator or the solar panels.
And the ability to stay out there longer means that you have that much more opportunity to see these things that are just hard to get to.
So I think that when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you get set up, you want to go camping somewhere nice and quiet or go somewhere where there's not a lot of people and enjoy something special, and the last thing you want to do is listen to your generator.
Energy storage is critical because even though you could be plugged in, even though you're getting energy from the sun, even though you're driving, you could be getting from your energy from your alternator. If you're boondocking, if you want to enjoy nature, if you really want to get out there, you need a good storage system so that you don't have to keep, either turning on your rig or firing up the generator. If you got a cloudy day, if you got 3 cloudy days, you don't want to run out of electricity. So it's enormously important.
For me, when I'm off grid, it's so freeing because there are no ties. There's no bills to pay. Those things, to manage your own utilities, are so much more liberating and freeing and allow me to do some of my most creative work and think outside the box and enjoy life.
Keep going.
Testing, testing. The last piece to installing the toilet is connecting the power to the fan.
That's much better.
Much better.
The ability to live off-grid is helping to power the movement in ways unimagined only a few years ago. Whether it's a small mobile solar system that can charge laptops and phones, a roof full of collector panels, or a massive solar setup that can power a large home, the possibilities are as expansive as the horizon. John and Brendan at Jedlow became full-time RV nomads to take their stargazing equipment on the road and share with others the marvels of the night skies. Theodore Roosevelt National Park invited them to provide stargazing gatherings for park visitors, and they jumped on the opportunity. An opportunity that's possible only because of their ability to remain off-grid for long periods of time.
We don't ever have to make a reservation at an RV park if we don't want to. We can go to the darkest skies as long as we can get our rig in there, we're good.
One of the first things we decided to go with was a composting toilet. We did some research on that, and I selected Airhead. And so we have actually 2 composting toilets, one in our rig and also one in our solar trailer. For the purposes of if I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and with the public, we have that capability to do that. We turned around and made sure that we had some tanks and some bladders so I can bring fresh water to our rig with our truck, and then also take the gray water away, no black water, or I should say black tank. So we've got that. We decided to go with 1,300 watts on our roof, and it really was just a matter of how much can we put out there and make it so that you're somewhat having to dance around the panels. So we could fit 1,300 watts on our roof, and that's what we went with. We added a cell booster, a WeBoost to that, and a Wi-Fi Ranger to that.
I think what's so wonderful about having all of the solar, having our composting toilet in the rig and in the solar trailer, our new batteries, are that we can really go anywhere. It's the freedom to go wherever we choose to go.
Leaving behind the hustle and bustle, taking the road less traveled, letting go of a sticks and bricks existence for the full-time RV life, clearly that's a huge choice. For some RV nomads, it's an obvious, even an irresistible choice. For others, not so much. But for anyone considering life on the road, serious thought and planning should come first, along with realistic expectations, plus tolerance of an often turbulent transition period. Many newcomers jump into the lifestyle eager for awesome scenery, romantic campfires, lower living expenses, and a simpler, maintenance-free way of nomadic life, only to discover right out of the gate that the RV life is still life.
And we definitely have the struggles that come along with being alive in this society where we have to still, pay bills, we still have to have breakdowns of the truck, we still
have to run errands,
do
buy
laundry.
groceries,
Yeah.
do laundry.
I thought I'd be going outside all the time.
What happened?
Hiking every day, or not every day, but just being outdoors and doing all these fun activities. I thought I was gonna lose like 15 pounds and be my most athletic self.
We do sit around a campfire sometimes, but we don't eat s'mores every night. We don't relax outside every day.
We have certainly gone to some beautiful, awesome places and done cool hikes and all that. But I think I'm realizing it's not a vacation.
Oh, wow, it worked.
And that was part of their decision with our videos too, to make them real.
She's about ready for nap time.
Party animal.
because we saw a lot of, at the end of the day, as the sun goes down, drinking wine and just enjoying themselves. And there's some of that, but it's so limited, we learned over time that's just not reality to us.
You did a good job on the pancakes.
Uh-oh.
And sometimes you run into unexpected things, but they are learning experiences always.
So RV life is still life.
For many RV nomads, the lifestyle is less about the vehicle and more about the relationships, our experiences and discoveries. And when it comes to relationships, RV life can have a profound impact.
RV is an amplifier, and so if your relationship's really good, it could get even deeper and richer because you'll have more shared experiences. But if you have a relationship that's more challenged and you squeeze yourself into an RV, it can actually bring out more difficulties. Can bring things to a head because there's not as much room for things to grow or be separate. You're faced with it more.
Tom and I have different levels of clutter tolerance. His clutter tolerance is much higher than mine.
I find myself like having to pick things up here and there to make my environment like something that I can live in. So I think that's
But he only picks up my things, but he doesn't pick up his things. I guess it's my things that make it hard for him to operate.
On the same note, some people have different levels of hairballs and grime tolerance. Our dogs shed a lot.
When I'm laying down on the couch or the bed and I'm trying to sleep or I'm just waking up or I don't want to be woken up yet and Audrey's walking around, this is my experience.
Something that's kind of difficult when you're living with your spouse in an RV is when you fight. Because it's intense. You're in that tiny space again, and then like when you want to kind of like be away from that person, where are you gonna go?
And for some reason, this experience makes my soul depart my body and ask for reincarnation.
Should just
I cannot
wake up
stand
earlier.
it. It drives me insane.
We were ballroom dancers several years ago, and learning to manipulate each other on the dance floor requires a certain type of communication and knowing each other really well.
There's no personal space ever in our RV, hardly, unless one of us goes in the back and closes a door, which is not practical.
And then we move into this small space, and it's just the two of us. We're sort of doing a ballroom dance, but on a bigger scale.
Say I'm in the hallway, and she's wanting to go from the bedroom out to the living room. I can't be in the hallway for her to accomplish that.
She is our video producer and video editor and video queen. So I need to give her the time to do that, and quite often she needs quiet time. So that puts me outside or in a different location.
Or if one of us is at the foot of the bed and the other wants to get around, you have to move.
But then with a baby and the wife, trying to find that area where I can focus and do my work has been difficult.
Yeah, sometimes he'd get death stares from me as I'm trying to produce a video and make sure the sound levels are right, and he's putting on a YouTube video, and I'm like, really? Right now?
And I go like this.
One of the biggest things for me is I just had to realize that I couldn't overdo it on driving days, because on driving days, I can become a very angry person at the end of the day after all that stress and attention on the road.
We only have one bathroom. We had three bathrooms in the previous house that we came from, and pretty much all the apartments we ever had, we had more than one bathroom.
It's not good to put either of us in those stressful situations for an extended period of time, because after we get stressed, we're still in a 14-foot space together living. So
in the morning, we kind of have to stagger our schedules a little bit so that he can go to the bathroom, I can wait till the smell dissipates or whatever because it's a tiny space, and then I can go to the bathroom in peace.
It's a big motivator to handle and address issues as they come up, because it can put a big damper on the whole camper and everyone involved if you hold on to that.
Yes, there will still be the inevitable irritations and frustrations that arise from coexisting in such a small space. But most RVers view these as a part of the adventure, part of growing, learning, becoming stronger as individuals, as partners, as families.
Ooh, lovely. I think RV life has brought us closer together because it's a big life change that you go through when you're transitioning from being in a house to being in an RV.
This isn't about loving each other. You have to like each other because you are in a tight space and you're doing things together more often.
We never used to watch sunsets together. We never used to just hold hands and go on a walk.
I mean, we've spent so much time together. We're not strangers, you know, it's not like you go your 9 to 5, I go to my 9 to 5. She goes to daycare and we see each other and play catch up on the weekends, hopefully.
It became a whole new relationship for both of us.
Learning how to communicate again, learning how to be around each other, how to love each other. And it was like hitting a reset.
And when you experience such a big life change with somebody and you go through the challenges and the struggles and the joy and the pain together, it brings you closer together. You learn so much more about each other.
We never sat outside to eat dinner or have a glass of wine together just because we're in an awesome new front yard and backyard. So in that sense, I think we became a lot closer. We go on adventures together now way more often than we used to. I mean, physical adventures where you literally go out and climb some crazy mountain in the woods or whatever.
I absolutely think our van life has made our family stronger.
I'm a better person and we're a better couple because of it.
And no matter what else happens, you kind of fall back onto that and say, well, we got through this together. We learned so much together that there's no way that can't help your relationship.
And then down below is another clamp that I keep always checking to see if there's any coolant.
Another reality of RV life for which we often underprepare is the seemingly endless range of mechanical issues. RVs are not necessarily designed to be used 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Living in them full-time puts every system and component to the test.
Some of the common mechanical issues that you're going to find in the RV that you're not going to find in the average home is servicing the air conditioners, making sure that the filters for the air conditioners are clean. Things constantly are vibrating when you're traveling down the road, so screws come loose, cabinet doors come loose. All these RVs are traveling now with hydraulic level up systems and hydraulic slides or mechanical slides of some sort. Almost every manufacturer has a slide system to extend the living areas. They need constant lubrication, constant attention to the seals to make sure you don't have water intrusion. I think every RVer knows that water intrusion is probably one of their biggest enemies.
We would lose water pressure in certain parts of the RV at certain times.
One of the exterior walls was separating.
And just as we're hopping on the interstate, a windshield wiper falls off the RV.
We lost 50% of all of our inside LED lights in the coach within the first 2 months of being in it.
A lot of the electrical issues stem back to the batteries and an inverter that was underpowering the rig and a whole multitude of factors that we just didn't understand.
We went to go exit the RV and the door handle broke off in my hand. And so we couldn't actually use the door to get out the coach.
Then there's the sometimes brutal reality that, unlike most of America, RV nomads have to deal with their own plumbing and sewage.
Every RVer has a poop story. They do. When you dump your tanks, you're going to have one. And if you don't have one yet, it's just a matter of time. Just wait. You'll have something terribly crappy happen to you.
So I drove up and found a campground, pulled in, and they showed me where the dump was, and I went. And I hadn't dumped by myself before. The guy, I asked him, I'm like, can you just kind of watch me, make sure I'm doing this right? Because, I had anxiety and just didn't want to screw it up. Sure, and this is old, like, fisherman kind of guy. It was a fish camp. So he just starts to take over. He goes to unscrew the cap, where I'm going to attach the sewer hose, and sewage just comes spewing out. all over his hands.
We're getting ready to leave, and I'm dumping my tanks before we get on the road. That's just what you do. But I can't get the stuff to move through the pipe uphill. And I had an older hose that had a bad connection. It would snap together, but it didn't really want to hold, which I learned that day the hard way.
And I'm horrified. What do you do? I mean, there's my shit all over your hands. He just screwed it right back on. And I'm like, you know, what do you do? What do you say? How do you compensate for that?
And as I get to the junction, and the weight of the stuff in the tube, because it's not light, got to the junction, it came apart and dumped all over my legs and my feet and my hands. And I was just completely covered in raw sewage.
And I am so, you know, just so, I can't. And I'm like, where do I grab? Can I get a hose?
We had this brilliant idea to get the part that connects right to the sewage part to be clear, because we thought, I don't know, that way we could know that it was actually emptying.
And he's like, that's all right. He's like, I've had worse things on my hands.
We didn't realize that you could like hear it going down. So the first time we're doing it, we're standing there looking, and finally we get to see, and we're like, this is horrifying. This is awful. Why did we think this was a good idea?
That's what he said. I have had worse things. And I had to ask, I'm like, what can be worse, you know, than what can be worse?
It's a learning experience, no doubt. One that teaches us to become more resourceful and independent, more environmentally conscious, often more humble, always more free.
RV life as we know it right now, which is largely, you know, just a nomadic life filled with adventure, has brought us happiness, it's brought us peace, it's brought us satisfaction that we would not have known otherwise.
And being on the road and being in the RV, the only two people we have to please is us. We don't have to worry about pleasing a code enforcement officer with a project, or even what our neighbors thought about how we cut our grass or anything like that. It's just the two of us, and we're allowed to be as free as we want to be.
RVing has absolutely enhanced our happiness. We were itchy, if you will, at our house in Washington. There was always something more that we wanted, more things we wanted to do, and we didn't have access to those locations. You know, it's very hard to do the traveling that we wanted to do while still living in one spot.
It's for anybody who wants to take that leap and make their life more about experiences and less about things.
It's been very freeing having less. There's just less clutter in your mind and less to kind of weigh you down.
You're just more focused on things that matter.
You know, in the past 10 years since we've really been involved with this lifestyle, directly, it has been amazing to watch its growth and see where it has gone, and it's just been really inspiring and fun.
I mean, we looked back after that first year and we thought, oh, we're just getting started. This is amazing. It's such a different lifestyle for us.
It's absolutely amazing to be a part of the movement that we're seeing out there, and actually being able to experience it firsthand in our own RV with our own two boys. There's nothing like actually being in an RV and being surrounded by your community, meeting other people on the road that are experiencing those things, and just sharing in the happiness of it all.
We are RV Nomads because it allows us to live minimally and deliberately.
I'm an RV Nomad because I get to choose to live as an individualist.
I am an RV Nomad because I love to explore and to grow.
Because I want to live my life on my own terms, where no one else dictates where I go, what I do.
I am an RV Nomad because I want to live a wild and adventurous life.
I have to say I'm an RV Nomad because I'm a wild and crazy girl.
I'm an RV nomad because I can't hold still long enough to stay in one place for more than a couple days.
I'm an RV nomad because I choose to be.
Because I want to be at least one example to the rest of the world that you can choose the life you want to live, you can believe that it's possible, and that you can make it happen.
I wanted to change my long-term lifestyle from a very stationary, predictable life to one that allowed me the opportunity to be creative
and discover talents that I didn't even know I had.
I wanted to get outside my comfort zone. I had been doing the same thing for a really long time, and I knew that I had more potential.
I am an RV nomad for our son Tucker. The experiences that you expose these children to, they will impact who they are.
I'm an RV nomad because I value my freedom and I want to make choices that make us happy.
I'm an RV nomad because I want to live intentionally, environmentally conscious.
I am an RV nomad because we took a leap of faith, it paid off, and now we're hooked.
And so our adventure continues, our journey rolls on. Awakened and alive with the freedom we embrace, we are also fully aware of the risk and the reward of our daily choices. They are our choices, our decisions. Which road to take, which passion to pursue, which unknown to explore. The novelist John Irving wrote, "If you are lucky enough to find a way of life you love, you have to find the courage to live it." That courage, we've discovered, lives in each one of us. Life is a miracle. Every new day, a wonder. Each horizon, an invitation and a challenge. We accept that invitation. We are inspired by that challenge, excited by the prospect of the life that lies before us. We're RV Nomads, and this is our story. What's yours?